What's up, motherfuckers? The last round of the second day of the match uh, comes after three victories of Kasparov and five draws. So Anand is still seeking about his first victory. So let's see if in the last blitz game of the second day he managed to beat Kasparov finally. Okay, Anand repeat with d4. He likes his move. d5, knight f3, knight f6, and again he makes the same mistake that in the previous game with e3. With e3, sorry. In the previous game, Kasparov made c6 and instead of knight f6, and he made e3, but that's a mistake too, um, because the square e3 was simply for the knight, and then play c4. That's the idea of the position that doesn't understand in the first game and doesn't understand in this game. And the e3 square was simply for the knight, and then to play c4. E3 was no sense here. And here again, Kasparov make another mistake. With black, you should play the same 96 followed by c5. c5 clearly was possible too, or simply 5. Bishop b5 was straight here because now you give black white the opportunity to play 95, attacking f7. You should play queen g8, not the most useful move. The queen on g8 is not making nothing. Okay, on h8 is not a beast, but there's no useful move. A 95 of course is so useful. And now I'm playing knight g3, who is not bad, but a3 was better. Bishop a6 and f4, c6 and g4, trying to take all the space that you can. That's a so interesting way to play with white, trying to take all the space into in every side, in the center, in the queen side, and in the king side. That's why knight g3 is a little bit straight move. Generally, this knight should go, the f1 knight should go to e3, and this square is for the pawn. Anand doesn't understand that, and in both games he plays the knight on. In two games he plays the knight on g3 and on g6. He doesn't understand why the position. Okay, in g3, 6, a6, good, a4, sorry, bishop a6, f4, knight 8, d7. And okay, for the moment the game was more or less normal. Here Anand start to fail a little bit. Now with bishop, okay, now black is threatening to play with c5 or with c6, maybe more careless. C6, c5 are the two black plans. So good idea was play bishop e5, just stopping the move of c5 or c6, beating the c7 pawn. And in b6, black plays now we are creating a hole in black position. We can play knight c6. Of course, we are not threatening there, we are threatening 97, attacking, taking the queen. So here defending, bishop d2, just go back. And for example, bishop b7, we just can go back with the knight and with the bishop. But now black have his pieces in defense, and this bishop is bad place on b7, the rook is bad place on e8, and b6 is a little bit strange. Now black cannot castle more in short, who is so important. It's like the other game Anand lost because he moved his rook to d6 and he cannot go short castle never. So that's one of the ideas of rook b6 to avoid the short castle of black. And if you want to go long castle, now b6 open your king a little bit. And for example, if king b7 here, can knight b4. Okay, in this line with bishop b7, 95, a5 here, or c4 or prince f1 are the correct move. Just try to gain with the pieces to the queen side because black can never go cannot go king side. So just why just should take the pieces to the queen side to attack the king, like in the other game Kasparov made against Anand. Okay, before the problem, and if you didn't find bishop d5, just make another simple move, like, I don't know, maybe bishop d2 or, yes, maybe bishop d2 to try to castle or queen. Yes, the problem is that the bishop on a6 defends so well the queen. Yes, bishop a5 was the move. Or, okay, you can play a5 if you want, or something like that. The problem is that before it's opening your position so much, and I don't like before. C6 will move. The huge problem we got is the C4 square. that you are weakening so much your late squares. And now Kasparov makes a plan to place the f6 knight on c4. But it's always apart, you all have the e4 square too. Okay, you can cover one square, but two is more difficult. And apart, a possible knight on d6 is jumping to e4 and to c4 too. So for that reason, before is a strange move in my opinion. Maybe with one you can play b3 or c3, bishop b3 to trade this bishop, something like that. But before was so strange because you are weakening your latest square. c6, stopping b5 of course, c3, and now we see that this dark square bishop was so bad. And now black have two good bishop with the light square and the dark square because the dark square was good because he have all his central points in the opposite color. And the light square was good because it's out of the pawn chain and in a huge diagonal. So now black have two bishop and white only one. The light square, the dark square bishop was also bad. If you can place bishop h4, maybe, but here was bad. And here Kasparov makes a good plan to improve his knight and apart ejected the e5 knight from e5. But he finally, instead of ejecting the e5 knight from e5, he stopped the move e4 with the break for e4 because white here have two possible breaks, c4 and e4. c4 here looks more strange because okay, for the moment two pieces control e4 and white only with one, so e4 you cannot make. But e4 looks the normal break for white. So Kasparov make a good plan to avoid. 98, bishop d2, and here, when I was in the game, I expect f6. But f6 can be made by knight takes d7, rook takes d7, and e4. So for that reason, we take equally. For that reason, Kasparov makes the best move, f5, stopping e4. Okay, he said, okay, I give you the knight on e5. In one day, I'm going to trade it, and me, I'm going to place the other knight to c4. Bishop c2, knight d6, rook b1, bishop c4. And here Anand makes a strange move, bishop b3. I don't understand this move because, okay, uh, black have the bishop on c4, but the piece that you really want on c4 was the knight. And you have, okay, so you have two pieces to have on c4, but you only have one square on c4. So trading this bishop was so strange for me because now black free the c4 square for this knight. Okay, take. And here Kasparov plays a normal move with knight takes c5 followed by knight c4 with a position who looks like an advantage. But Kasparov here has a great idea with a5. Of course, if b5, then you can just simply take and looks that black is completely winning here. Knight b6 or queen f8 and look like black is winning. Okay, if you take here, the idea was just take and knight c4 and the position was open and these two pawns is going to be fall early. And if queen f1, sorry, if here if queen f1 was the best move, black have a high idea. Was queen e8 to play c5. What was incredible. Queen d3, queen and no. Take, and c5. Attacking the rook and discover attack to the a4 pawn with the queen on e8. A great idea for black. Okay, a5 was the best, but Kasparov played the normal move knight e5. F takes knight c4, and here the match is that black is better. So say black advantage of 1 point. But then because okay the difference between the bishops are clear and the difference between the knights are clear and the black minor pieces are completely better than the white minor pieces. But then was so difficult to convert this advantage into the full point. So we are going to see that white have many resources to maintain the position because it's a close game with 18 points, so with 16 points, sorry. For the reason the importance of open the position, because now with open position, the difference between the bishop and the knights are going to be more clear. But in a close position, okay, you can have better pieces, but if you cannot open your opponent's position, if you cannot enter, you cannot win. So sometimes you can hold a worse position, but if you can keep the position totally closed. So for that reason, the importance of a5. Gary Kasparov plays takes and IC4, queen f1. Okay, queen e8 was possible, okay, but b5 was fine. Maybe the position now is a draw, and can look so strange because looks that black is better and the machine says that black is better. But I cannot find a way to enter in the position of white. But of course, black have the is the player who is pushing, of course. Okay, here the machine prefer g5, stopping h4 in b7 because here he says h4. Okay, queen e2, bishop c7, we move, and white finally castle. The machine prefer knight h1 with the idea of go to d3 with the knight because then the knight on e3 was well placed. But I cannot criticize the Anand play because he managed to hold the game more or less. I don't want to say easy, but look that he have a faultness here and here. Okay, and black take too much space into the game side. But all the time the problem is that if you play is g4, you give the square f4 for black. Um, and for example, after rook plays on f4, if you play g3, white have h3, and if you play h3, white have g3. And if you don't push the pawns, how you can win? Uh, I don't know. What happened here? For example, the move knight f4 was bad because now you can live with the queen, and now play g3 attacking the rook, which is so important because now after he moves the rook, you are going to take here, and now the position is open. One file at least is open, and maybe the h file is going to be open too. Okay, but what happened? That after instead of playing the knight on f4, white is going to place the rook. Okay, the idea of leave the f2 square to not be attacked after d3. Again, if h3 d3 and if d3 h3. And what happens? You can think, okay, we're going to play bishop g5, attacking the rook, and if he leaves to g2, to f2, g3. The problem is that here, black white can make a neutral move, a random move like rook d1, and you are not threatening nothing because if you take the rook, we take with the pawn, and black have no progress. Where you can enter with in the black position. Okay, this knight can look so well on c4, but this trap. Of course, you cannot eat the knight, you cannot take the knight, but this knight have no square. And where you can enter is everything blocked, but in the sorry in the king side, if g3 all the time, h3, and if h3, g3, you cannot enter in this position. Was incredible. You have so much space advantage, a great knight on c4, but you cannot enter. Just simply well keep the rook on f4. So important move here, play rook f4, avoiding g3 attacking the rook, and just looks at the position is a draw. In theory, the machine say huge advantage, but if you start to analyze, ends in a draw because of the close position. Okay, Kasparov tries a6, improving a little bit, but this is just a draw. Rook f4 and just draw. Kasparov tries queens, but this doesn't make nothing. The position is like the same, but without queens. And for that reason, yes, Kasparov saw that and he just repeat with the rook. But now white having the necessity of sacrificing the stage because now he have the f1 square for the rook to avoid the g3 just attacking the rook. So that's a draw to end the game. Very interesting game. Kasparov have very good options, but he reads a position who looks winning, but is completely draw because of the close of the 16 points. So he cannot enter. Now have a fortness. For the reason the importance of make a5 previous in let's saw the moment. Okay, I should put the result here. 1 second. Test properties result. Draw. The result is a draw. to end the round. Okay, here, one moment. Here, black have the great move a5 to open the position in the right moment with the knight on d6 because that cannot play e5. But after knight d5, look like black is completely better because of the better pieces, but then it's also difficult to win this position. So that's the last round of the second day of the match. Only one day left. And after the first 2 days, Kasparov won 3 games, and the rest 5 games are draw. But Anand have one thing in his favor that the last day the games comes more. So if Anand won 3 games of 4 in the last 3 games, if Anand made 3 points tomorrow, he's going to win the match. So let's see what will happen the next day. Bye bye.